Hello, everybody. I am Lauren Weinberg, psychologist turned coach. I am the Becoming Coach. I specialize in women's empowerment and well-being.
Hi, and I'm Melanie McLeod. I'm a certified empowerment coach and I specialize in entrepreneur success coaching. And welcome to Talking Transformation Live.
Where it will always be real talk in real time for real people. And that's you and that's us. So, hey, Melanie.
Hey, Lauren. So if anybody's there, please let us know, chat something, chat hello. And if not, then please give us comments later when you view the recording. So how's it going, Lauren?
It's fantastic. I know you just had a fantastic vacation.
I did. And, I tell you, sometimes you have those great conversations in the car. And, people, we all think that we're doing something so great when we're giving people our wonderful wisdom and advice. And so I'm really excited about today's topic because we have to really think about this. Are we in control or are we being controlling?
That's a big one, right? That's a big one. And I know that I don't think of myself as a control freak. I feel like I really can let a lot of things go. But I know that when I want to, or especially when I'm stressed, that I immediately go to, like, that's my stress response, is to go to that. Like, let me see if I can control the situation.
Yeah.
And that means the people in the situation.
Yeah, like the backseat driver, the backseat driver who's telling you what lane to be in and how fast to go, how slow to go, and look at that and do this and adjust your mirror this way. And
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have one of those in my family and driving anywhere with her. And she's like, don't you think it's time to change lanes now? So it's a great question, are you in control or are you being controlling?
yeah,
And that it's a huge thing that I help my clients with in coaching, because we talk a lot about where stress comes from, right? A lot of what I do is less stress and more joy.
yeah,
And a lot of stress that we feel comes from trying to control things that are out of our control.
yeah, absolutely. And it's like if they would just do what I tell them to do, we wouldn't have any problems. Okay, so let's see if we flip that and you got to do everything they want you to do, see how that feels. So it's really important to know that if you're in control, it really means that I'm in control of my feelings and my emotions. And so I don't need to get upset because they're not doing what I think they should be doing. It's about really being able to respect and have boundaries and don't cross other people's boundaries. And when we get sulky and mad and say, you don't love me and I'm not going to do this for you because you didn't do that for me, it's like, whoa, wow, okay. Now we're trying to control the situation and the person.
And the funny thing is, the more we try to control, the more stressed we actually become,
Yeah.
because we come right up against those things that we can't control.
Yeah. And we're
And
stressing the person out that we're trying to control.
yeah, so you're really just escalating the entire situation. And like you said, you turn it around, and we all know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that as well. Do we want somebody to be trying to control our response to a situation, or something about us personally, or something about a situation that we're in? And we all know how uncomfortable that is. Right?
I think that's important, Lauren, to remind ourselves that when we're in that place where we're just so sure that this is right, this is right, okay, what they're doing is wrong.
Wrong.
I need to fix it so that it will be right, okay. Then we have to really think about how does that feel when someone is putting their sense of right on you.
Absolutely. And it's important to know what we have control over. It's been talked about a lot in the corporate world, what is your sphere of influence? I think it's Ken Covey who talks about that. What is your sphere of influence? Some things you have direct control over, some things you might have influence over, but that doesn't mean that you really do have control over it. And then some things you have absolutely no control over.
Well,
And
when you think you have control, do you really? Because
mm,
sometimes people are going along with it just to so you won't nag them, and so they're not happy because they're not able to be themselves because they just don't want conflict. So they just, and then years later, sometimes they just get it. They get so annoyed with having to deal with it that they snap on you, and then you're just like devastated. I can't believe you would talk to me like that.
well, but that's the two sides of the coin, isn't it? Somebody who really struggles with that need to control. And it all comes out of trying to relieve our anxiety, right? It's because we feel anxious about a certain situation that we try to control it. But
Yeah.
it's struggle, right? It's that struggle. And the more, those, oh gosh, I hope I'm not being inappropriate here, but we used to call them like those Chinese finger handcuffs. Do you know about they were like a
Yeah.
tube and you put a finger in each side
Yeah.
and then you try to get out of them. But the more you struggle to pull your fingers apart and get out of them, the harder it is to actually get out. It's you actually have to relax into it and then ease your fingers out in order to get out. And I think of it that of this issue like that. Like the more that we're struggling against the way things are, the more difficult it is and the more stress we're actually causing ourselves and like you said and the other people around us.
I love that. I love breathing. When when you're in a situation where you just really want a person to do what you want them to do. When you just allow yourself to breathe,
Yeah.
you're bringing yourself back to you. It's now doesn't need to be about what that person's doing or not doing. It's really about what you're doing and allowing the stress to go away.
Which is the only thing you have control over, right? So the only thing that anybody ever has control over is like your body, your mind, your energy. That's it. I call it your ABCs, right? So it's I love that you said breath. I Your ABCs are your actions, your breath, and your character. To me, that's what you have control over. What actions you choose to take or not take, how you spend your time, what things you do with your time, all of the things that you physically can make a determination about. Your breath, like you're saying, use your breath to send you back to center. But it's also like a reminder to keep doing those things that help us connect internally with ourselves.
Absolutely.
And to me, your character is your mindset and how you keep your promises to yourself and other people. Like
Absolutely.
that's what you have control over.
Absolutely.
Everything else out of your, like you cannot control what anybody else is thinking about you, what anybody else is
Yeah.
doing, their reaction. You have no control.
Well, one thing I've seen a lot of is people who've been married for a long period of time, and they might marry someone who was quiet and just went along with everything. But then as they got older and matured and they started evolving and they started really getting to know themselves, they were like, no, I don't want to do that. And they're finding their voice. And then the other person is taken so aback by this person finding their voice that they're feeling like, well, okay, I've always told you how to do things or always been the person to make the decisions, and now you're trying to make a decision over me. And it's just like devastating. It's like, who am I now? Because they're taking over and they're making me do things I don't understand, and then it becomes this chaotic situation because they're upset that this person's finding their voice. But instead, we need to be able to say, "Hey, yay, they're finding their voice. This isn't a direct insult to me."
Yeah, but right, so change is hard. And that's what we talk about on this show all the time, right? Is change. These are conversations about change.
Yeah,
And, that's why they call it growing pains, right? Because change really is hard and there are painful bits, and that's a painful bit. And that's oftentimes somebody finding their voice after a long period of time, causing disequilibrium in that relationship. Well, look, that is often a point at which relationships do break apart if both people can't adapt and come to the new situation with respect. And you can work it out. It's entirely possible to recalibrate and find a new
Absolutely.
equilibrium.
Absolutely. But you have to be the one that says, I don't need to control this person. I need to control myself. And right now, I don't need to get angry because this person found their voice. I can agree to agree. I can agree to disagree, but it doesn't have to be anything nasty.
Well, and really what that is, and in all of this conversation, it really leads to, can you have dialogue? Can you have discourse? You control what you have control over, as hopefully the other person may or may not. Again, you don't have control over that. But can you then, bring it to a point where you're actually entering into dialogue, where you're talking about it, where can admit what you're feeling? Because the truth is, you have to admit it to yourself first.
Yeah.
Like, you're acting controlling because you're anxious. So have that discussion. What is making you anxious? Is there something that might be helpful? And
Yeah.
then you can
And the
ask
answer
for
should
help.
be because you're not doing it right. Because sometimes that's what we want to say so bad. It's like,
Of course, of course. But, again, that's, going to create this kind of friction as opposed to finding a way to move forward. And so if you have in your mind that your goal is to really move forward together, then at times of high stress, once you recognize, because look, we all have a knee jerk reaction, but recognizing that knee jerk reaction, recognizing what's happening in your body, recognizing the kind of triggers that set you off, like recognizing that you're having a reaction to a feeling, that's that awareness that gives you opportunity to do things differently.
yeah, and it needs to, and you have to figure out because when you react, anytime there's a reaction, it's never about the person. It's always about you. It's always about what you said to yourself or what you felt or how what happened made you feel. It's not you did this to me. No, it's what the person said and what you did to yourself after you heard it. Because these are your feelings and emotions, not the other person's.
That's right. You and I have talked about that a lot. That nobody makes you feel any certain way. You have complete control. It's all you, your responsibility on how you feel, on how you respond. Now, we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some future date. And we'll talk about those automatic thoughts and how that contributes to what you're feeling emotionally. But it's all about building that awareness
Yeah.
and building that awareness that just because you're feeling stress, and again, stress often comes from trying to control things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
But when you build that awareness, it gives you the opportunity then to do something differently. So, it's a good question to ask yourself. Am I in control or am I being controlling?
Yes.
And is that how I want to be?
Because one of them feels a whole lot better than the other. And unfortunately, when I'm controlling someone, it feels good because they're doing exactly what you're telling them to do, and they're not responding to you, they're not disagreeing with you, and so that feels wonderful. But it doesn't necessarily feel so wonderful to them because they're not feeling heard, they're not feeling understood. And so you're sitting there like, yes, I told you to do it that way, and now we're good. And are we really good? I don't know. When you feel like you're in control, it means that you allow that person to have their voice and you can calmly agree or disagree. You can say, I hear you. Not sure that I have the same opinion, but I can respect what you're saying. Okay, I don't have to agree with it. You have your opinion, and I have mine, and we're good.
And that being in control, look, if your intention is to show up as a giving, loving person, who doesn't fly off the handle or who isn't interested in controlling other people, if that's your intention, then if you act out of step, out of character with that intention, guess what? Even if somebody's doing what you want them to do, in the end, it's not going to feel good anyway. So knowing who you want to be and how you want to show up is the first step to building that awareness.
Yes. And second is, if I'm upset, why? It's really being able to say what's really going on for me that's got me so upset because this person had an opinion.
Right? Just that, willing to turn that lens inside and say, what am I contributing to this situation? And to find out what's going on in there, not to ignore it and push it away, but to let it come up and let it inform you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling upset about something.
Yeah. You'll be surprised what things really are triggers for you. That in that moment, it could be something that happened 20 years ago that you even thought about, and you're saying, "Oh, but that situation just triggered me to that same feeling that I had back then." And so it's really being able to say what's really going on for me. I don't need to be upset with anyone because they have an opinion or they have a voice. We should all have voices. And our voices are not, yeah, it's nice when someone agrees with you. But really, are they agreeing with you because they just know that you're going to freak out? So that's not having an authentic conversation for yourself or for the other person.
And that's it. It's all about being authentic and being true to who you are and who you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, ask yourself that question. Are you in control or are you being controlling? And don't forget, your breath is your best friend. The power is in the pause, and that breath will return you to center.
Absolutely. So when things start getting a little tense,
see, it works immediately. I feel better already.
right.
So thank you so much for joining us. Please leave a comment under the video. We want to keep the conversation going. It's so important to hear everybody else's opinion and hear your voice on this.
Absolutely. So don't forget, tune in, same time, same place next week. And if you need to get in touch with us, you can reach us by email at talkingtransformationlive@gmail.com or through either Lauren or my websites. We hope to see you next week. Take care.
Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Bye-bye.